Hey guys, welcome back. It's Missy. If you're wondering why I have like splotches on my hand or discoloration, I dropped my lipstick because I'm the CEO of dropping things. It's splattered everywhere. Thankfully, have never dropped my dog or a baby, so I'm good on that end. I just got those buttery hands. So Tarte, you're not playing. If you're watching this, your lipstick, it stays. You really don't want people to take off your products. So today's topic is on emotional abuse and the signs of emotional abuse. Now, when it comes to emotional abuse, you may be being abused and you have absolutely no idea. You just know when you leave interactions with that person, you feel leaving upset and confused or bad about yourself, and you're not entirely sure why. Because emotional abuse is very tricky. And a lot of the times it's very subtle abuse where it's hidden and it's not as easy to detect as physical abuse. You may be wondering, why do people abuse? Why would you want to make someone feel bad on purpose? People abuse because one, they were abused themselves at some point in their childhood. They saw their parents being abusive, and they weren't brought up in a good home where they were taught how to communicate and have their wants and needs met. So now, in order to get their wants and needs met, they will control, punish, and manipulate situations to fulfill their bruised ego and their wants and needs. Emotional abusers will seek out people with low self-worth, low sense of self, and people with weak boundaries. The reason that is because it's much easier to manipulate someone that isn't sure of themselves. And it's easier for them to get these people to trust them, to gain that power and control. And so they will lure them in and have their best self on, being overly the top nice, overly loving, overly helpful. So that way they don't suspect anything. And then when they feel that person trusts them, then the cycle of abuse starts. So first it starts with tension building. So the victim will start to feel that something's about to happen. And you may notice yourself walking on eggshells more, just feeling a little bit more stressed because you're preparing for the storm. And then as a victim, you may feel like you need to please your abuser more just because you're trying to prevent what you know is about to happen. Then the incident will happen. They will say extremely abusive things. They will do something to you. They will gaslight you. They'll argue, threaten. They may even touch you. Then it's the reconciliation. And it could mean fake apologies. This is where love bombing comes in, where they will try to make you forget what they had just done, make you feel loved. Maybe they'll place the blame on you and make it seem like you caused that event. And then it's the calm period where it feels like where they'll try to make you forget that anything really happened because they're being calm, or it seems like they're normal. And it's just a constant cycle. And that's why victims get confused and they may blame themselves easily because they're dealing with two different sides. One is the really abusive side and the other is like the love bombing side and feeling good. You're having those release of those chemicals that make you feel really good and loved when it's the love bombing, and then they make you feel really bad. Because you're constantly hearing that it's your fault, you will feel like you're causing your abuser to act like this. Now, emotional abusers could be anybody. They don't have a certain look. They could be pastors, they could be parents, they could be teachers, they could be lovers. Anybody can be emotionally abusive. And a lot of the times in emotionally abusive homes, it looks much different in public than it is behind closed doors. Emotional abusers are a lot of the time wolves in sheep's clothing. They may be someone everyone in public likes. So here are some of the signs of emotional abuse. One sign is verbal abuse, and that's a little bit more obvious. That's a less subtle form of emotional abuse. So that includes threats. such as, if you don't say I love you, I'm gonna smash your phone, or if you don't do this, this is gonna happen. Judgments. So no matter what you do, they'll judge you. Are you really gonna wear that? That doesn't look so good on you. Did you really make that decision? That was such a dumb decision. Criticism. So making you feel like you're not good enough or just really bad about yourself. They'll disapprove of you and remind you of your faults. Even if you reach their unrealistic expectations, they'll still somehow put you down. Yelling. Yelling is not always abusive, but it is when it's constant. When it comes to an emotional abuser, they'll yell at really inappropriate times when they can just talk. Lying. Now, everyone lies a little bit. With emotional abusers, they'll lie about silly things, like they didn't touch the cookies in the cookie jar, or they'll lie about where they're going or who they're talking to. Accuse and blaming. So they'll constantly accuse you of things and blame you. So if they're upset, you're at fault. They can't find their car keys, you're to blame. They made a mistake, you somehow caused it. They never take full responsibility for things. It's always you somehow, even if you had nothing to do with it. Name calling. So anytime that they're calling you any type of name, stupid, moron, ugly, going into rages. So anytime they go into an anger attack and they take it out on you. And sometimes these rages will be caused by little things, like you drop something. Now here's some less subtle forms of emotional abuse. Opposing. So anytime that they can argue about something, they will challenge you in any way they can. Talk down to you. So if you hear a condescending tone of voice talking to you like as if you're a child or beneath them, that's talking down to you. You'll feel like a piece of garbage or a dog. Discounting and belittling. They may minimize your thoughts and feelings and make you feel like you're not allowed to have an opinion. It's their way of saying your feelings don't matter or they're wrong. Because as an emotional abuser, they don't want to make you feel like you're your own person. They may turn others against you. Abusers like to feel like they have people on their side to back them up, as well as make their victims feel like they're more wrong. Have proof that what they're saying has truth to it. They may get others to tease you or make fun of you. They like feeling validated in what they're doing to you. They may have people talk badly about you in front of you or do it behind your back. They may turn things around. Emotional abusers will turn things around. So if you tell them they did something wrong, they will immediately turn it around and make it seem like you did it somehow or it's your fault. Another thing emotional abusers will do is they'll try to convince you of things. So if they're yelling at you or trying to make you feel bad, they'll immediately turn it and make it seem like they're doing it out of love or they care about you. So you hear things like, I am only doing this because I love you, or I only saying this because I care about you. I'm the only one that cares about you. I'm the only one that is protecting you. That's how they excuse their abusive behavior, to make it seem like it's normal and to make it seem like their victims can trust them. When someone is trying to overly explain themselves, that means they're guilty in some way or another. Kind of similar when someone's lying, they will overly talk. Emotional abusers do that as well. Emotional abusers will isolate. They will isolate you from family, friends, and peers. They'll tell you who you can talk to, who you can't talk to, and they may prevent you from doing certain activities or doing things that they don't want you to do. It helps them to keep their victim under control and make them more dependent on them. Undermining and interrupting. So whenever you have something to say, they will make you feel like you don't know what you're talking about, or they will interrupt you anytime you're talking in general. Abusers will also finish your sentences or talk on the behalf of you without asking you if it's okay. This is meant to undermine your self-esteem and confidence. A huge thing with emotional abuse is guilt. You will feel a lot of guilt when dealing with emotional abuse. They will inflict guilt on you in many different ways. Emotional abusers will make you feel guilty for things that you're not doing. They will inflict fake guilt. They will make you feel bad in situations where you did nothing wrong. You just didn't do exactly what they had wanted. They just felt you were wrong, so they inflict feelings of guilt and wrongdoing. Rejection. They may punish you by withholding love and affection or stonewalling. A big way that emotional abusers will punish their victims is with silent treatment. So when you do something they feel is wrong, they may ignore you or not give you your wants and needs because they need you to know that they don't like what you did and they are trying to manipulate you to never do that behavior again. Emotional abusers will mock or call their victims sensitive a lot, and they will use it in a very negative way. So when they do something wrong or they can't handle the way you are feeling, they will then mock or call you sensitive. Like if you go up to them and say, I'm really upset, they'll say, I'm really upset. Or they'll be like, oh, here we go again. Of course you're upset. You're always so sensitive. Or they'll make a lot of jokes in your expense. And if you bring it up to them, then it's upsetting you. They will then mock you or call you sensitive. Emotional abusers will disregard your feelings and your wants and needs. Because they don't want you to have individuality, they also will make you feel like you don't have your own wants and needs. They want that constant control. And they also may struggle with empathy, so they don't consider your needs as needs. The major form of emotional abuse is manipulation. Manipulation is the most subtle form of abuse, and it's very hard to recognize. You just know that you feel something's off, but you can't put your finger on it because it's not right in front of you. Manipulation is used as a tool to take away your individuality and replace it with who they want you to be. Manipulation is hidden intentions. So it will look a certain way, but behind it, they are doing it for their own benefit in some way or another. In denial. They will always deny when you talk to them. They will deny your feelings. They will deny when they did things, deny promises or when conversations took place. They just will deny that it ever happened. Emotional abusers will gaslight. Gaslighting, in my opinion, is the worst form of emotional abuse because it leads you to feel like you're crazy or you're going crazy. And your sanity is everything. The term gaslight comes from a movie called Gaslight, where a husband used denial and slowly manipulated his wife into thinking she was crazy. Abusers will do something or say something, and when the victim brings it up, the abuser will act like it didn't happen or that their memory is false. It causes you over time to doubt your own memory and perceptions, and then it eventually leads you to feel like you're going crazy. And it could be of the smallest things, like they moved a plant and they said they never moved it. Or it could be that you brought up that this one time they hurt you and they say that never happened, when you have proof that it happened. Gaslighting is what causes people to feel like they're bad or they are the issue, because again, it takes away their individuality and it makes them feel like they are not who they used to be. You'll know you've been gaslighted when you don't feel the same person that you were before you met this abusive person. Or if you were a child and you're not entirely sure who you are because you were always told who you are. You were told you were bad. They may infantilize, and what infantilizes is when you treat someone younger than they are. Tell them how to dress, what to do things for them. Take away any confidence or ability to do things themselves. Not allow them to do things most people their age do. And this is very specific with emotionally abusive parents and children. They will divert conversations. They'll use it to get away from conversations. They will do things like switch topics, make things about them, accuse you or use words that basically are telling you to stop talking. Emotional abusers will test or disrespect your boundaries because they don't want you to have boundaries. They want you to always say yes. No is not acceptable to them. They will never accept no because, again, it goes back to that taking away that individuality and wanting constant control. Boundaries mean a closed fence, and they don't want a closed fence. Boundaries mean less control, and they don't want less control. They want an open fence, and they want to be able to go in and do whatever they want and whenever they please. So you'll notice if you ever set boundaries with an emotionally abusive person, they will try to knock them down and they will not respect them. These boundaries could be like, you don't want to talk about certain things. They don't care. They want to talk about it because they don't respect you. It may be touching you when they told you not to, or touching your stuff when you told them not to touch it. Controlling. They will always try to control the situation, what's going on, the conversations. They just always want constant control. Control of who you are, who you're talking to, what's going on. You will feel like you're being controlled. Emotional abusers may even accuse you of being emotionally abusive, especially if you make it clear to them that you feel like they're being emotionally abusive. They will turn around and now you are the emotional abuser. And they may not even say that you're an emotional abuser. They will just make it seem like you're abusive towards them or you treat them badly. Now you may see some of these signs of abuse and say, well, I do some of those things, or my loved ones do some of those things. And the thing with abuse is that it's over the top, too much. That's what abuse is. It's when it's done too much. Occasionally doing things like this, we all do it. It happens. We name call, sometimes we manipulate, sometimes we do certain things. That's not the issue. It's when you're not aware you're doing these things, or you are aware and you don't care and you do it over and over and over again. That's what makes it abusive. And emotional abuse is so extremely tricky, and it's something that we need to bring more awareness to, because a lot of times with emotional abuse, we'll just pass it off as no big deal. It's us, because that's what we're taught. We're always told, like, it's your fault. You're doing this. It's you. You're the problem. Because victims, they are the ones with low self-worth and low sense of self. They don't have the coping mechanisms to know that it's not them and it's the other person. And going further, when it comes to emotional abuse, we'll talk about the effects of emotional abuse, or signs you have been emotionally abused, and how to deal with it. So what do you guys think? Is there any emotional abuse that I left out? Do you have any stories that you want to share when it comes to emotional abuse? Leave it all in the comments below. And please like, comment, and subscribe, and don't hesitate to share. Thanks for watching. Until next time, bye guys. To abuse. If you're wondering why I have like discoloration or splotches on my hands, don't worry, it's not blood stains. The term gaslight comes from What's up, Sash? She's scratching at the door. So I'm good with living things.